Welcome all to our channel, and today we are going to discuss about the top 20 SQL interview question and their answer. So hope you are enjoying the series of this full stack interview question. So if you are new to this video, you can watch our previous two video on .NET Core and the Angular interview question and answer. So you can understand the things better. We are going to learn and discuss about the mostly asked interview question on SQL Server. So in this video, we are going to discuss top 15 SQL question, and the 14th question of this series is very important to understand considering or crack your SQL Server interview. And again, we are covering the SQL queries so that are asked by the interviewer to write or explain while on an interview. So let's start and crack the round. So the first question is, what is meant by the SQL? So basically, SQL stands for the Structured Query Language. So the full form of SQL is Structured Query Language. And why we require the SQL? Because it is used for communicating between or in the databases. So it is the standard language for the relational database management system. As you know, our SQL Server is a relational management database. So SQL is used to retrieve and manipulate the structure of the database. So there are different actions that can be performed through the SQL. So the first, we can insert the data. So using SQL, we can insert the data, then we can delete the data from the database, then we can fetch or retrieve the data from the database with the condition or without condition. We can create the multiple tables which required for our application into the particular database. We can delete or drop the tables if required, and even we can create new database or a multiple database as per your need. So this is basic about the SQL. So now let's move to the next question, and it is very important question is, what are the different types of the commands or subset we have into the SQL? So in SQL, we have data definition language command. So DDL is used to creating or modifying the database object, such as we can create the tables, indexes, users. It is mainly used to create and restructure the database object. So there are different commands available, like we are seeing on the screen. We have a create command. So this command is used to create the database object like table, index, functions, view, store procedures, and triggers. So that can be created with the help of create command. Then we have the drop command. So this command is used to delete the object from the database. Next command, we have a alter command. So this command is used to alter the object structure into the database. If you want to alter the table, then we can do with this command. Then we have a truncate. So this command is used to remove all the record from the table. Next, we have the rename. So this command is used to rename an object which is existing into our database. Next set is the SQL data manipulation language, or a DML, is to query and modify the database data. So this is belong to the data which is present into your database. It deals with the manipulation of the present in the database. So there are different actions we can perform as you are seeing on the screen. So first we have the insert. So it is used to insert the data into the table. Next, we have the update. So we can update the existing data within the table. Next, we have a delete. So it is used to delete the record from the database table. So this is the DML subset of the commands. So next subset is a DQL. So it stands for the data query language. So DQL statements are used to perform the queries on the data within the schema object. Select command is used to retrieve or fetch the data from the database. So the next subset is data control language, or we can say DCL. So DCL is used to control the access of the data into the database. This command is used to give or remove the access to the particular user from the particular object or the operation. So we have two commands here. First, we have a grant. So this command is used to give the access privileges to the users for a particular database or a particular action. Next command, we have a revoke. So this command removes the user access privileges which we have given using the grant command. So these are the two commands inside the DCL. So next subset of the command is a transactional control language, or we can say TCL. So TCL is used to manage the changes that happen in an object or for the particular command. So there are different commands we use. We have a commit. So this command is used to commit the full transaction or a full changes after success. Then we have a rollback. Rollback command is used. It's roll back the changes whatever made previously if the condition is not satisfied or any error occurred. Next we have a save point. So this command is mark the point where if the any error is occurred, save the changes till that point. Then we have a begin. So begin command is nothing but it's begin with the transaction. The transaction command is used to start the transaction or create the transaction. So hope you understand the subset of the command which is present into the SQL server. So you need to keep in mind this very clearly to understand the which command belong to the which subset. So you will definitely clear this question. So now let's move to the next question. And the next question is, what is difference between primary key, unique key and the foreign key? So let's first see what is mean by primary key, unique key and the foreign key. The primary key in SQL is a column that acts as a unique identifier each record into the table. The unique key is also unique identifier for a record, but when the primary key is not present into the table. Next, we have a foreign key. The foreign key is used to link one or more table together, and it is known as the referencing key for that table. The primary key column does not allow the null value. The unique key column allows the null value, and also foreign key column allows the null value. Primary key must contain unique values and it has not null implementation. This provides uniqueness for the columns that helps to identify the each record uniquely. Foreign key is reference to the child key. So we can allow only one primary key per table where we can have multiple unique key as well as multiple foreign key. So now let's move to the next question, that is what is join and types of the joins. So join is used to combine the record from two or more tables in SQL database based on the related column between the two tables. SQL joins are used to merge two tables or retrieve the data from the tables, and it depends on the relation between the tables. So there are different types of the join. First, we have the inner join. So inner join returns the matching record from the table based on a specified condition. So this join return the matching record from the both table based on the condition which you apply for the particular query. Next, we have the right outer join. Right outer join returns all the rows from the right table, but only the matching row from the left table where the condition is matched. So it's written the all row from the right table, but the matching row from the left table based on your condition. Next, we have the left outer join. Similarly to the right join, but it is opposite, returns all the record from the left table, but only matching row from the right table. Next, we have the full outer join. So it returns all the record where there is a match in either left or right table. So you need to keep in this mind. Next, we have the self join. So self join is a case of regular join where a table is joined to the itself based on some relation between the columns. So self join basically use inner join or left join clause with the table analysis. So if you want to join the table, you need to use the inner join or left join with the table analysis. Example for the self join is you can find the manager of particular employee. So we have the manager ID inside the same table which belongs to the particular employee ID. Next, we have the cross join. So the cross join produces the cross product or Cartesian product of two tables. So it's a Cartesian product of the two tables. So cross join does not have any condition. So hope you understand the joins and the types of the joins available into the SQL server. So if you are enjoying this video and understanding the concept of SQL server, please join us by subscribing our channel to get the latest video updates immediately when we upload the video. Let's move to the next question. So the next question is, what is index and types of the index? So an index is a data structure associated with the table or a view that provide quick search on the data into the particular column or columns of the table. Indexes reduce the cost of query. There are different types of the indexes that we can create for a different purpose. First, we have the unique index. So these are the indexes that helps maintain the data integrity by ensuring that no two rows of data into the table have an identical value. Once unique index has been defined for a table, uniqueness is enforced whenever keys are added or changed within the index. Next, we have the non-unique indexes. So these indexes are not used to enforce the constraint on the table. So instead of, these indexes are used to improve the query performance by maintaining the sorted order of the data. Next, and very commonly used index is a cluster index. Cluster index is a special type of index that reorders the way of adding the physical records into the. Next, we have the non-cluster index. So non-cluster indexes help to search the query to logical order of the indexes which are not physically stored into the particular table. Next question is, what is difference between cluster index and non-cluster index? So the cluster index is physically stored on a table or a view where the data for that rows are stored. So cluster index are physically sort your data into the particular table. So it is present into the table itself. If the table contains the primary key, then SQL automatically creates a cluster index for us. The indexes which are present other than primary index, that is cluster indexes, are called non-cluster indexes. Next difference is, cluster indexes store the data information and the data itself on a same table or a view. Non-cluster indexes store only the information and then it will refer you to the data for the cluster index. So it has a separate copy for reference. Next difference is, we can have only one cluster index per table, where we can have multiple non-cluster index per table. Next difference is, a cluster index always contains an index of 0, whereas a non-cluster index always contains index is greater than 0. What is difference between delete and truncate command? This is also mostly commonly asked question. So let's first see what is meant by delete and truncate. So delete statement is used to delete the rows from the table, whereas truncate command is used delete all the rows from the table. So you need to keep in mind, it deletes all the rows. Next, delete command removes the row from a table based on the condition that you are going to be provide into the where clause. Truncate will remove all the rows from the table and there is no data present after run the truncate command, and the truncate command don't have any condition to apply. Next difference is, delete command can be rolled back, whereas when you do the truncate you cannot roll back. Means in the case of delete, if you mistakenly delete something, you can roll back that changes, but in the case of truncate you can't roll back that changes. Next difference is, delete is a DML command. As we discussed previously, delete is a DML command, whereas truncate is a DDL command. So you need to keep in this mind. Next, delete does not reset the identity of the table, whereas truncate reset identity of the table. What does mean? Like when you truncate the table, start inserting record from the one. So let's move to the next question. So next question is, what is difference between function and store procedures? So the store procedure is a group of SQL statements that are previously created and pre-compiled statement which is stored into our database server. SQL function is a simple code that we can frequently use or reuse into our database. Whenever we require, we can reuse the function. Next is, store procedure can return the 0 or any value, whereas function must return the single value. Means we can return the multiple values from the store procedure, where we can't return the multiple values from the functions. Next, store procedure can have input and output parameters, whereas function can have only input parameters. So you can't use the output parameter into the function. Store procedure cannot call from the function, whereas function can be called from the store procedure. Next difference is, store procedure allow select and DML statement, that is insert, update and delete, whereas function allows only select statement. Next difference is, store procedure can execute dynamic SQL, whereas function cannot use the dynamic SQL. there is one more difference between the store procedure and function. We can't use the store procedure into this select query, whereas we can use the function into the select query. So hope you understand the difference between the store procedure and function. So now let's move to the next question. Next question is, what is view? A simple view can be a subset of the table. We can say it is used for retrieving the data as well as updating or deleting the rows. The rows which we are updated or deleted into the views are directly updating and deleting to the table from which we have created the view. Basically, it's a virtual table that contains subset of data within the table. So it's look like the actual table containing the rows and column, but it takes the less space because it is not physically present into the system. The result which we are seeing on the view, it's a data from the one table or a more table. So data access to a view is actually constructed or built using the select command, and it can come from one or many different tables based on the condition. The primary use of view is to implement the security mechanism. As we know, it's a searchable object where we can use the query to search the view as we can do for the table. The question come to here is how views is help for the security mechanism, because views provide the abstraction and it displays the specific set of the column from the table, not all the record. We can hide the sensitive data while creating the view. Next question is, what is subquery, or what are the types of that subquery? Basically, subqueries are often we called as a subselect. A subquery is nothing but the query within the another query, and also known as nested query or inner query. A subquery select statement can be standalone, and it is not depends on the statement which you are going to be nested. So we can have a standalone statement for the subquery. Subquery select statement can return any number of value that can be found in a column or a list of column which we have provided into this select clause based on the condition which provided. So we have a correlated subquery and non-correlated subquery. So correlated subquery can be related to the particular table, where non-correlated subquery does not relate to the particular table. So there are different properties of subquery. Subquery must enclose in the parenthesis. Subquery must put into the right hand of the comparison operator, and subquery cannot have order by clause. It can contains more than one subquery. So we can have more than one subquery. Next is, what is recursive store procedure? So recursive store procedure is nothing but a store procedure that calls itself until the condition is satisfied or reached to that level. So it's called as a recursive store procedure. So this recursion function help programmers to deploy the same set of code into the several times as and when required. So you can write store procedures that call themselves until that condition is reached. Next we have a SQL Profiler. SQL Profiler is basically a tool that allow administrator to monitor the event that happen for the particular instance of a Microsoft SQL server. You can monitor a production environment and see which store procedure are harming performance by executing, or it is taking time. So basically it is monitor the events. Next question is type of the database available into the SQL server. So when you open the SQL server, there are the default database available. So that database we are going to be discussed. First is a master database. So basically it contains the information for all the database located on a SQL server. SQL server cannot start without functioning the master database. Next we have the MSDB database. So it stores the information regarding the database backup, SQL agent information, packages, SQL server job, and some replication information for your log shipping. Next we have a TempDB database. So it holds the information for the temporary objects such as global and local temporary table and store procedures. Next we have a model database. So it is basically a template database which is used creation of any new user database instance. So the next question is, how would you improve the performance of your SQL query? So this is also commonly asked for the question. The first point is reduce the table size. So SQL table optimization is a essential part while building the table or querying to the table. To ensure receive the information, you can filter your data. Filtering the data will reduce the table size and optimize the SQL query runtime. Next, we have a simplify the joins. Sometimes when query joins the table, it is drastically increase the result set row count, which can be lead to the slow execution of the time. So before joining the table, try to reduce the size by filtering the data and providing the condition. Next, use the select fields from instead of select star from. So by using the select field from instead of select star from, you can narrow down the data fetch from the table during that query execution, and it will increase your query speed. You can use the exist instead of count. We can use both exist and count to discover whether the table has a specific record present or not. Using exist is a more effective, while count will search the entire table to provide the total number of count for the matching condition, whereas exist is only run until the first record is found for that table. So you need to keep in mind, you can use the exist instead of count. Next, use where instead of having clause. So another way of optimizing your query is use where clause instead of having clause, where queries execute more quickly than having queries. Where queries filter the record before groups are created, while having queries filter the data from a group means after creating the group from the result. Create the indexes. So as we discussed, indexes are help to retrieve the data faster and speed up the query execution. So we can create the indexes to retrieve the data faster and optimize the query by using the cluster index or non-cluster index as per our requirement. Next, we can avoid the running queries in a loop. So running queries in a loop can slow your runtime performance. So in case, you may use bulk insert or update data which is more effective or faster than into the loop. In some cases, we want to insert the bulk data, so you can go with the bulk insert. Next question is, what are the aggregate function and the scalar function? Aggregate function performs the operation on a collection of the value to return the single scalar value. So the functions available are, we have a average to calculate the mean value from the collection, then we have a count to calculate the total number of the rows present in the table or a view. We have a min, calculate the minimum collection of the value. Similarly, max, it's calculating the max of the collection of the value. Then we have a sum, so we can sum the collection of the value. Then we have the first, you can get the first element from the collection of the value, and then we have the last, we can fetch last element in a collection for the particular value. Next function group, we have the scalar function. So scalar function return the single value based on the input value. So there are different functions. We have a length, like len function, it's calculating the total length of the given field or a column. We have a ucase, convert the collection of the string values to the uppercase. Then we have a lcase, so it's convert the collection of the values to the lowercase. Then we have the mid, so it extract the substring from the collection of the string that present into the table or a value. Then we have a concat, concats two or more strings. Then we have a rand, it's generate the random collection of the numbers for the given length. Then we have the round, so it's round of the integer value. Then we have the now, it's written the current date and time. Then we have the format, so it set the format for the display. These are the scalar function available. We will see some 5 bonus questions which we have added. First is, what is difference between the local and global variable? So basically a local or a temporary variable, temporary table exists only duration of the connection when you are going to be open. When you open the connection, for that connection local variables are available. Global temporary tables are available, remains the database permanently until that connection is exists. Next question is, how do you load large data into the SQL Server database? Bulk copy tool is used to copy the huge amount of the data from the table, and bulk insert command helps to import data into the database table. So we can use bulk copy and bulk insert. The next question is, what is schedule job or what is schedule task? Schedule tasks are automated process that runs on a regular basis or a periodical cycle. So we can set the time for the particular task so that can be run on the particular cycle or regularly. User can schedule the administrator task as per their need. Next question is, what is the command to use to rename the database. We can use sp underscore rename db, and we need to give the old name and the new name for the database. Next we have the what is Raiseerror. So store procedure reports the error to the client application via Raiseerror. When your store procedure getting errors, Raiseerror is used to throw the exception. So now let's see what are the mostly asked SQL queries. First question is how to know which indexes table is using. So we need to find out the indexes from the table. So for that we can use to get the details of the table name and the index name from the user underscore contents table. So you can simply select table name comma index name from user underscore constraint table. So from there you can see what are the indexes available for the particular table. Next question is write the SQL query to fetch the number of employees working for the particular department in case of, let's say, development department. So we can use the aggregate function count with the help of SQL Server where clause. So we can simply select star from the employees where department equal to this. So you can count that. Next question is write a SQL query for fetching the duplicate records from the table. This is also mostly asked query while interview. So to find the duplicate record from the table, we can use group by clause on all the fields. Then we have to use having clause to return only those fields whose count is greater than 1 to get the duplicate record. For example, let's say select employee ID, department ID from employee, group by employee ID and the department ID where count is greater than 1. We can simply find out the duplicate record by the department. Next query is create the empty table with the same structure as other table. Let's say we have an employee table and ask you to create the same structure from that. So for that we can use MySQL like clause with the create statement. Simply you need to create table, you need to give your table name like the table from where you want to create.